Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Michael. We're very excited to have you joining us this morning on a beautiful morning here in Charlottesville, Virginia. A great opportunity to grab your café con leche, iced or otherwise, get down to a great spot and enjoy some Today y Mañana and our guests. Michael, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, Alex. Happy to be here. It's a great morning.
To have you.
Very sunny. I'm excited to get going. You know, we got a great
especially
lineup
with a great
today.
lineup. We have an amazing lineup of guests this morning. We're going to be joined shortly by Jill Trischman-Marks. She is the executive director of the Botanical Garden of the Piedmont. Then later in the show, Lee Hartman from Bluestone Vineyard in the beautiful Shenandoah is going to be joining us. And then last but certainly not least, our monthly meetups with Matthias Yohn from Matthias Yohn Realty is going to be catching up with him. He is freshly back from a little rest and relaxation, and going to be talking some Charlottesville, some fall. It's funny that we're in the midst of the dog days of summer, but if you think about it, that comes towards the end because September 20th is the first day of fall. Yeah,
but that's still over a month. Let's not try to rush to end summer. I hate that stores do that. After July 4th, if you go to Costco, suddenly you're seeing all the scarecrows out, and you're it's July 5th. It just ended. Summer began 2 weeks ago.
It's
even
worse
over.
now. I mean, sometimes in August you go to the Cracker Barrels up the.
They already have some.
It's
Christmas
Christmas
stuff
already.
Yeah, no, some places already have Christmas stuff. I'm this is unbelievable. Summer hasn't even ended and you're advertising Christmas.
Oh, what
I like to enjoy my seasons. Take time, and not that everything is always rushing to the next thing before the first thing has even finished.
I know, so there's still lots to enjoy.
There is. It's still 95 degrees outside, so that tells me it's still summer, not fall.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. When it's 75 degrees, then you could be okay, I guess fall's here.
Mm-hmm. Well, in Charlottesville, sometimes, fall itself has 90-degree weather. You never know.
Yeah, it could be hot, but not. Usually, you're not getting this in October.
Absolutely. Claudia Troy already watching the show this morning. Monica Miller from Montana already joining us, watching the show. Thank you both for
See,
for
in Montana, that's where you're already looking and saying, okay, fall's on its way.
Yes.
Because fall is a 2-week span, and then suddenly you're getting, 10 inches of snow the next day.
Absolutely. So, but we appreciate our fantastic viewer from Montana, Monica. Thanks for tuning in this morning. We got, like I said, we got some great guests coming up. Love being here on the I Love CVille Network set. Big couple of shout outs. Thank you to Emergent Financial Services for presenting. And of course, thanks to our amazing partners, Matthias Yohn Realty, Craddock Serious Insurance, Castle Hill Cider, Forward, Adelante. Thank you all for being just such amazing partners of the show. So I don't know about you. I'm ready to jump right in and enjoy some of the amazing guests that we have on this morning. So we're excited to start with and welcome to the show Jill Trischman-Marks. She is the executive director of the Botanical Garden of the Piedmont. Jill, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for coming on.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. So for those who either haven't met you yet or don't yet know about the Botanical Garden, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you first came to be connected with the Botanical Garden of the Piedmont.
Sure, thank you. So I am a landscape architect, and I practiced in this community in Central Virginia for about 30 years. I was a member of the board of directors when they decided to hire their first executive director, and I was chosen after a nationwide search, so I feel really honored to have the job of my dreams and be able to serve my community by helping to build a public garden.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So what is the Botanical Garden? How did it first come into being, and where is it located?
So it first came into being in 2008 as a nonprofit that was formed to educate the community about the benefits of a botanical garden. Our founder is Helen Flamini, and she moved here from New York, and she was astonished to find that such a sophisticated university community didn't already have a botanical garden. So she started a 501c3 just with the idea of educating the community about the benefits. Not long after that, when they were putting in, developing the plans for the John Warner Parkway, in which 2 of the 9 holes for the golf course in McIntyre Park were going to be removed, the city of Charlottesville, through the Department of Parks and Rec, started doing a master plan for the eastern part of McIntyre and invited the community for feedback. And a botanical garden was high on the list of priorities for the community. The Parks and Rec were not prepared to offer the environmental education that's a strong part of a botanical garden, so they sought a partner in that venture, and that's when we were selected to be part of the master plan for McIntyre Park. So that said, the location of the garden is actually reached most easily from the John Warner Parkway, Melbourne Road. Our driveway entrance is across the street from the Charlottesville High School football stadium.
Oh, very
and
easy.
We're right across the railroad tracks from Charlottesville High School. And that's been really a blessing to be able to integrate the high school students into the programming that we're already offering in the garden.
That's fantastic.
And what can you find in a botanical garden?
So right now, we're in very early days. The site was the former leaf dump and mulch pile for the city of Charlottesville, and it sat dormant for about 10 years before we started stewarding it. So that gave a lot of invasive weed seeds the opportunity to germinate and really take hold.
Yeah.
So when we started stewarding the site in 2019, we actually had to hire a forestry mulcher, a piece of equipment, to go in and penetrate that thicket of vegetation before we could even see what we had to work with. And the first thing we had to work with was tons of trash, whether it was, tires and mattresses and stuff. But we were then able to start chipping the vegetation and creating trails and gathering areas. So we're in a very rustic state right now as we're raising the funds to build the future garden. But we do have trails and gathering areas. We've been hosting events and programs in the garden to welcome the community in and let them, so they understand what kind of amenities we're offering to the community and feel at home there. As we raise the funds to build the future garden, which will be a lot more finished and offer even more amenities than we currently have. So we want the community to be part of the design and development, and we feel that the best way for that to happen is for them to feel welcome now in these early days.
Yep.
Okay, so do you have an idea of what kind of plants or trees you would want to plant?
So we are committed to having native plants in the garden, and that does not mean that we won't have edible landscaping. We're looking at food forests and that kind of thing, but we're really about developing healthy, sustainable habitat. And if you go to the site right now, you'll see along Melbourne Road we've planted a wildflower meadow. And it's incredible the number of pollinators that are already coming and visiting that particular garden. But the other impact that we've already seen is by removing native plants, we've seen that the aquatic life has really diversified. In 2019, there was a PhD candidate at UVA in herpetology who, as part of her thesis, with volunteers, went through the stream quarter in the garden and turned over pretty much every rock, and they found one dead box turtle. Now, after several years of removing native plants, we actually have a great blue heron who is hunting that stream quarter, and he's there pretty on a regular basis. And if you know anything about them, it takes a lot of loft for a heron to be able to get up.
So he needs that kind of space.
He needs space, and there has to be something there for him to come back a second time. And we've got minnows, we've got frogs, we've got toads, we've got snakes. It's a living, healing landscape, and we're really excited. We're about to begin a stream restoration project. And in fact, they're surveying the property right now, and we're expecting the heavy equipment to arrive later this month. And what will happen is right now the stream is very deeply incised. There's a lot of erosion because the water travels really quickly through that stream corridor. All of the stones at the bottom are the same color because they're covered with silt. And this stream restoration will reintroduce meanders into the stream corridor, create some floodplain areas, and slow the water down. And will also be raising the bottom of the stream and tapering back the sides, and then it will be stabilized with all native plants. So the stream will be more accessible. We can use it more as an outdoor classroom. The visuals will be more aesthetically pleasing, and it will be healthier water that goes downstream ultimately to the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's amazing, even in the early stages, just how the existence of the botanical garden now has, healed the land in a sense from those invasive species and the things that kind of, and it's amazing how just the wildlife has reacted, saying this was an unlivable space for us before, and now they kind of all gravitate there because it's become livable again and a natural environment. That's awesome that you're going to keep it that way and maintain the native plants and not species from elsewhere that wouldn't, that oftentimes they don't connect well with the local wildlife that's there.
Exactly, and this is such a critical time in the development of our planet to make sure that we are doing things that are both financially and environmentally sustainable, and to be able to offer the community green space so close to the downtown. We take that as just an awesome responsibility, and we really saw during the pandemic how important having access to green space was. And the studies that have come out since have shown how both mental and physical outcomes are improved by regular access to green spaces.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the pandemic definitely showed how healing nature has, like a calming effect and almost like a meditation area for you to just kind of like de-stress, relax, and just kind of like, even sometimes even works as an antidepressant. I think in many cases I've seen studies about that. So that's wonderful that it's like so accessible to us in
right here in the area.
Yeah, right here in the area.
Absolutely. What are some of, because you mentioned some programming and things, what are some of the programming or events or things that people can kind of experience when they go?
Well, just taking off on what we were just saying, we do have in the next month and a half or so several yoga classes. We have children's yoga and adult yoga classes that we are offering. We have Tai Chi classes. All of this is with the help of our community partners. So the classes we offer are free and open to the public, and so in both of these cases, or all three of these cases, the Tai Chi and the yoga classes, these are all volunteers that are offering their services to the community and using the garden as their venue. We have grants that pay for literacy, arts, and STEM programming that we've been offering. So, for example, the stream restoration, we're trying to make every part of the design and construction of the garden into some kind of community educational opportunity. So we have a grant, and for the past 2 years, students and scouts have been documenting the water quality in the stream, and the results of their testing is up on our website, so you can see over time what's going on with the water. And that testing will continue during and after the stream restoration. So students are able to participate in some real citizen science projects that have real life consequences. With our literacy program, once a month we have preschool story hours with a librarian from the children's librarian at Gordon Avenue Library. And those are all books about nature and gardens, so kids are learning about nature in nature. And then we have a grant for what we call Explore to Read, where books about nature that are age appropriate, with the publisher's permission, are blown up to 2 by 3 foot posters and then put along trails in the woods. So reading becomes interactive and exploratory, and there's a sense of discovery, and so it's, they're learning about nature again in
While
nature.
being in it, yes.
Yeah. So we are real fortunate that we've got so much community support in this venture, because it's a pretty big project.
That's
that
awesome.
sounds
That's
terrific.
fantastic. And you got some fans watching already. Whitney Mallenby liking the show this morning. Leisha Morales Taray. Thank you for watching the show. Liking Botanical Garden, Jill Yerder, Rachel Boranko, Tath Boardman, Dave Benham, Median Shedro. Thanks for liking the Botanical Garden of the Piedmont on this morning's show.
To go back to what you said, Jill, especially when it comes to the youth, I've been on this show and said this like 1,000 times. I feel like this younger generation has grown up in such a digital age where I think they haven't really been able to experience nature as in the same manner as previous generations have. So it's really wonderful to actually kind of push them out instead of being on their phones or iPads or computers. Now push them back out into nature, kind of reintroduce everything that has to offer in the outside world rather than everyone just kind of like being stuck on their phones. It's really important, and it's something that's kind of getting lost a little bit that I'm hoping that can
Well, the beautiful once you do, I think we had a guest on a few weeks ago with the Living Earth School.
Living Earth School, yes.
And just talking about how sometimes once you just give the child that kind of first nudge, they'll keep coming back. Like you don't even have to force them anymore. They're like, yeah, I want to go and see what's new at the stream, or monitor that, or see what new wildlife I can find. And it becomes a natural thing to them and an enjoyable experience.
Listen, every living creature has a connection to nature. We do too. It's just that we've kind of civilized so much that exactly, we've forgotten it in some ways. And then when you get reintroduced, suddenly it's like an instinct, like a natural instinct kind of kicks in. Like, wait, I want more of this. I want to kind of be in the forest and in the woods. I want to see the plants and all the frogs and all the animals that kind of live in this landscape. So it's incredible.
Yeah, we've been reaching out to the schools, from I started this job in 2019, trying to get more interaction, with the schools. First there was a pandemic, and then the kids went back to the classroom, but they weren't doing field trips. Then they were doing field trips, but there were no bus drivers. But it was a great day last May when the entire second grade from Clark Elementary arrived by a school bus at the garden. So for those teachers that are out there listening, we definitely welcome you to the garden. We have a educational coordinator now that can set up programming for, that meets whatever SOL criteria that they're trying to achieve. So we really are trying to get kids into the garden as much as possible, because if the kids are excited about the garden, they'll bring their parents.
Exactly.
That should become a mandatory class. I feel like there should be a petition to start in Charlottesville schools. Like, it's mandatory that you have to have like nature field trips and like nature classes like once a week. I don't know.
Maybe we might not be able to get to once a week, but
come on. If you ask a kid whether they want to do algebra equations or go plant, I don't know, like try to plant a tomato plant, they'll probably say do the tomato plant.
Yeah, I have to say that for myself personally, my interest in the natural world came from my grandmother, who lived on the 25th floor of an apartment in New York City. And when I would go to visit her, she had a little terrace that was probably a third the size of the table we're sitting at, and she had tomato plants out there.
Wow.
But but it was too high for bees to be able to fly up and pollinate. So she would have me out there with her pencil tip pollinating her tomato plants. And I was probably 7, and it just sent me on this journey where, this is where I am now. So
that's amazing.
It really does light a light for children when they have some access to nature, and that intergenerational thing, that really counts for a lot as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fantastic. What a beautiful thing to, like, even in the midst of the concrete jungle that is
New York.
To just be able to cultivate that, and now look where it's led. It's like here we are. We're glad you're here, helping to grow a beautiful botanical garden in the midst of Charlottesville.
Thank you.
It's much appreciated. So for people who want to learn more about it, or visit, or see how they can support and donate, where's the best place to go to find out?
Well, first of all, like us and share us on your social media, but also go to our website, which is piedmontgarden.org. So that's garden singular, piedmontgarden.org.
Oh, super easy. piedmontgarden.org. Fantastic. Jill, it's been such a pleasure. I'm so glad that we got to learn about it. And we'll definitely, I know my wife and I will definitely be visiting sometime
please
soon.
do. Yes, we do have, tours for organizations, so contact us and we'll schedule one for you.
Awesome.
All righty.
Thank
you so much.
Jill.
Oh, that's fantastic. One of the things I love most about the show, you learn new things. It's like, oh wow, I didn't know. I confess, I didn't know before we had booked Jill to come on that it was here.
I know,
right here in Charlottesville.
That's incredible. Yes, and then the work that they do too, like trying to build the garden, kind of like you said, healing nature in a way. Like It's amazing that suddenly you see all the natural wildlife kind of return to space after they've left it.
Exactly.
So that's.
It's so important and so amazing in the sense of that they were able to take really what was an area that was struggling from a natural perspective. Like, I mean, just the thought that you can't even get in yet to see what garbage is there because of the invasive species covering it. I'm like, it's
kind of sad because in reality you're kind of seeing the worst of humanity, where it's like you have garbage everywhere, like people are just
overgrown by invasive species.
Exactly. And then you see the best of humanity, they're trying to heal the mistakes we've made.
And nature responding and saying yes. Now we're I mean, just the difference between one dead turtle and now there's so much wildlife that the heron is like, oh yeah, I want a piece of this.
I know, and those herons are gorgeous. I mean, I've seen them before. Every once in a while when we kind of drive along certain roads, you'll kind of see them in like the little streams. They're gorgeous animals.
Yeah, and it's a blessing to be able to go somewhere in Charlottesville and find that and see that, because they're not easy creatures to like actually spot.
Geese are easy to spot. You can go to like Costco, it's like, oh, these geese everywhere, but the blue heron is rare.
Is a magnificent creature. So I'm excited to go visit. For sure, And from one great guest to another place I'm excited to go visit. I mean, today's show is filled with places I want to go see. We're excited to welcome to the show this morning Lee Hartman from Bluestone Vineyard. Lee, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I'm excited to have you on.
Yeah, we're always excited to be here. We come from a family that,
we're a very Italian family, so, we like our wine.
Yeah, so we like to do that. So for those who haven't yet met Bluestone, haven't been out there, tell us a little bit about yourself and Bluestone Vineyard.
Sure. So we started planting grapevines in 2008 commercially. Before that, we had what I would call a hobby vineyard, or like a garden vineyard. It was a row of this, row of something else, and none of it made any sense. And so then we started planting in 2008 when I graduated from college. It's my family's farm. So I was getting started with this with my parents and some of their friends, and I was just getting on board. Not because I thought this is what I wanted to do. I didn't really have an interest in wine at all. But I used to live in Europe and I wanted to move back there. I have a degree in history. I thought I could be a tour guide or work at a museum or something along those lines. And my parents said, why don't you help us as we're starting this until something comes along. And then nothing came along, which was fine, because I
started to fall in love.
I started to really fall in love with the idea of this bottle of sparkling wine or this bottle of Cab Franc, and this is such a cliche to winemakers everywhere, but that bottle is just a bunch of dirt and water and sunlight, and it blew my mind, and it still does. And so here we are, 15 years later. We opened our doors in 2011. We built the winery in 2010, which was a really great year to get started in the world of winemaking. Prior to that, actually, we were making wine in my parents' garage. ABC came by. They're like, "Yep, you got a painted floor and a stainless steel sink, and there's no motorcycle in here, so this is totally a winery." But then we built what we work with today, and we've been there for this. Here in a couple weeks will be the start of our 14th harvest.
Wow! And now up to is it 5,000 vines that you have? That's like a large number that you've grown tremendously.
Yeah, so we now manage 27 acres, which comes to about 25,000 vines.
Wow.
Yeah, and most of that is our property. My family, my wife and my son and I, we live half mile up the road, and there's about 10 acres of vines there. But every once in a while, somebody will come to me and they'll want to learn about starting a winery or starting a vineyard, and I always ask them, do you want me to talk you into this or out of it? Because I'll do either one really, really well. And so twice now, we've had people who did not want to be talked out of it, and so we said, okay, we'll gladly help. And so now we manage a vineyard in Dayton, which is about 10 minutes away, and then we have a neighbor who's about a half mile down the road. Who we've got 3 acres of Merlot and Petit Verdot for them, and
That's fantastic.
yeah, the world of wine, specifically Virginia wine, it's such a cool community to be a part of. Like, there's no reason I should be able to make wine with just a degree in history, except I have a community of 300 other winemakers who will answer my questions, and I'll answer their questions. And so it's a really collaborative group of people to work with. And we all wish that there were more of us in the industry. The best thing for Bluestone Vineyard would be to have another tasting room on our road. And so I keep trying to drop hints to the neighbor. Hey, if you guys ever want to open a tasting room, you should totally do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So would you say that's awesome, because I know, Virginia has its challenges, but its opportunities when it comes to winemaking. What would you say some of those are, like, that you've experienced?
So my motto at work that I tell myself daily is, if this was easy, everyone would do it. Mm-hmm. And so there are definitely challenges. We've seen just about every mammal outside of an orca whale in our vineyard. We have to deal with mold, mildew, rot, insects, birds. We have to deal with local or state governments who don't know what to do with us sometimes. Can be a real challenge. Even during or outside of the pandemic, labor issues, trying to stay within what we're supposed to be doing. They're all big challenges, but I think sometimes there's that old saying that artists, not to call ourselves artists or anything, but artists don't make art because they can, it's because they have to. And
interesting. Yeah.
And I think that this is 100% it for me. Like, this is what I am going to do until my wife tells me to stop it. It's time to retire. It's something that I love. I think that most people in the industry that you could talk to will tell you the same thing. This is what they have to do. And so it can be a struggle. One of the nice things for us at Bluestone is that we are in the Shenandoah Valley, which means that we are usually 3 to 5 degrees cooler than you guys are here. Mm-hmm. We usually get a half a foot of rain less than Charlottesville does every year, which is really helpful. It's not an insignificant amount of water. That higher altitude, our vineyard tops out at 1,400 feet. Which is a pretty good spot to be in. It helps with those fungal pressure.
Have a harder time growing. The fungi and things.
There's a little more airflow.
Keeps things drier. Exactly. Yeah, we have a constant wind at the top of our hill, which certainly helps. Yeah. And then those cooler evenings, that diurnal temperature swing helps retain some acidity in our grapes. Which helps with ageability. It also helps with making it more food friendly.
Interesting! I didn't know that.
Yeah, all good things when you're working with wine.
Absolutely, that's for sure. That's for sure. So you've brought some. So first off, Richard Allen Fox says Lee is a phenomenal winemaker and an all-around great guy.
Well, thanks, Richard. This is nice.
And what wines? I know you didn't. You've brought a couple for us today, but as you kind of open them here, tell us a little bit about some of the wines you craft at Bluestone.
Yeah, so we have a hard time. We grow about a dozen different varietals on the property. We grow 97% of what we produce into wine at this point. We get a little bit of Viognier from somebody we've been working with for over a decade. They're a great farm. They know what they're doing, and I don't want to deal with growing Viognier, so we're happy to work with them on that. We make about 24 different wines. And so if you come to our tasting room, there's a lot of variety. Part of it is we're excited to explore and try different things, and some of it is we want to make variety for people who have a variety of different tastes.
Absolutely.
So.
And here we go. This is the part where we clap. Yeah. When he pulls this one out. Oh, look at that. See, this is the beauty of life. There we go.
Right? I picked like the one bottle that could absolutely go the worst. So yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunately Jerry's here. Otherwise, I would have just told you to keep shaking it, and then we'll shoot the pop and have it overflow back.
Oh, so which one is this?
Thank you.
It's a beautiful sparkling there.
So this is our Blanc de Blanc. It's a sparkling wine made out of Chardonnay.
Oh.
And the reason I brought this one, we just released it.
Yeah, cheers.
Hey, cheers.
Thank you. Coming on.
Thanks for having me. So this was the first sparkling wine we made. We've been selling sparkling wine for about 2 years because we were selling the 2018 first. In Virginia Wine 2017, fantastic year. 2018 was a really difficult year. So we thought this one could use some age.
Fantastic.
Thank you. The way that sparkling wine is made is super duper nerdy. Like you basically make a wine twice. You make a wine, you filter it, you get it ready to bottle, and then right before you bottle it, you add sugar and yeast to it, and then you put it in this bottle with a crown cap on top
To hold
pressure, and then it ferments in that bottle. And for this wine, then we wait 4 years.
Wow.
And all the yeast in that bottle starts to fall apart and contribute lots of cool notes to the wine.
It's fantastic.
I mean, it smells like yeast. It smells like a bakery.
Yeah, it does. Definitely
yeah.
was an earthy flavor. Because at first I'm tasting, I'm getting a very strong, almost like a Prosecco, kind of like a sweeter kind of champagne. But then, after a while, it settles in your mouth. You can kind of get this earthy flavor. And I was curious, now that you explain it, it's the yeast. That's incredible.
So then when you're done aging it, and this is the champagne method. This is how they do it in Champagne. You hold the bottle upside down. All that yeast that is still in the bottle finds its way to the very top of the neck. You freeze the top of the neck, so then all that yeast is basically stuck in an ice cube. You open the top off. All the pressure in the bottle pushes that ice cube out, and then you top it off with a little bit more wine. You put in the mushroom cork in the cage, and that's it.
Oh my goodness! Wow. I had no idea. That must be a neat feeling when you finally pop that thing and you see
it's
the ice
very
cube
satisfying.
shoot out.
It's so satisfying. It's the best. And we actually at this point now we're doing it all by hand. So every single one of our bottles that we're working with, we bottle it by hand and we disgorge it by hand.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I even like the use of physics in that too, though.
Yes.
I have to throw that in, like freezing it, and then like I would never even occur to me. It's like I would be like, oh, how do I get this yeast out of the bottle?
That's amazing.
So besides having a community of really wonderful people who can keep us from going too far astray, we're also at a really great time in 2023 that human beings have been fermenting anything they can get their hands on for the last 10,000 years.
Amen.
And people have learned a lot of things along the way. And this just happens to be one of those really cool things that once I started reading about it and learning about it, I just couldn't wait to try it ourselves. So now we make traditional sparkling wine like this, and we also make what are called pet nats, or a petulant naturel. Petulant naturel. It's basically you do the same process, but it's during that initial fermentation when you've got just a little bit of sugar left in the bottle or in the wine. You bottle it so it's raw. It's not filtered or anything. And so it's a much less predictable style wine. It can be a little bit funkier. It's definitely cloudy.
But I know that's very much not in vogue, but I've seen more and more of the cloudier wine.
It's very hip to the natural wine thing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's people are beginning to like not be afraid. I think of like, oh, my wine is cloudy, and that just means it's unfiltered. I mean, it's not.
To me, it's really really exciting that you can have that style wine, or you can have this style wine, and you can celebrate all of it.
Yeah.
To me, and I what we try to do at Bluestone is try to emphasize that wine is supposed to be really, really fun. This is supposed to be a life-giving thing. It doesn't need to be pretentious. It doesn't need to be stuck up or for other people. Like, there's a wine out there for everybody. And once it gets you, then it's a really fun wine, or a really fun world to explore.
Absolutely.
You know, you can travel the world and never leave your kitchen just by pulling a cork out. And it's fun. You know, you get to think about different regions, different techniques, different grapes. I'm in a very fortunate position. I get to think of my friends who made those wines, and I get to think of the years. You know, there's lots of like, oh, this was a great year. Oh, this was a challenging year, but this wine is amazing. They did a really great job with it.
There's almost like a story now that you can relate to
Yeah.
behind every bottle. It's like, okay, I know what went into this, like
100%.
that particular year, how hard it was to get that to come to fruition.
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing. And now, what are some of the reds that you guys produce?
So we grow all 5 Bordeaux varietals, so Cab Franc, Cab Sauv, Petit Verdot, Merlot, and Malbec. We grow all those. We also grow Chambourcin, which is a hybrid grape that I love. Our pet nat is made out of that stuff. So it's like a rosé. It's like a rosé style, a pretty dark one. Yeah, by all means. They're off camera.
Other
Get a
guests are like,
glass.
this is too good to not
Yeah, by all means.
get a glass and try.
It'll make the show even more lively.
Yeah.
I see, this is why Matthias is the best. He's like, come around, he's helping us out.
That's the real reason I'm here today.
Exactly. We booked him. We were like, Lee is coming on from Bluestone. He said, rebook me. Rebook me to that day.
Perfect.
So we got some. This is a Cabernet Franc that you have here for us?
Cabernet Franc.
Oh, this looks fantastic. The color is always a beautiful one. Oh, yes.
So this is much more in line with what our normal Bluestone bottle looks like. It has our logo and everything. And we have about 20 different wines like that, you know, from Merlot to Moscato. We want to make sure that, you know, whoever you are or where you are on your wine journey, we have something that should be exciting to you and something you would spend an afternoon with, because it is a beautiful place overlooking the Allegheny Mountains to be able to just, it's a great place to waste an afternoon. So this is kind of what most of our bottles kind of look like. A couple years ago, I started what's called the Vineyard Site series, which have these weird looking pictures. They're always textural. They're always very detailed. And they're pictures of things that you would see around the farm. And so the Vineyard Site series is my way of making really nerdy stuff that's still delicious. Like it's not you know, a science experiment that you forgot about in the back of the fridge. It is
deliberate.
It is deliberate, and it has to taste good if we're going to release it. So this is a picture of a scratch mark on our auger that has been rusted out.
How interesting.
And I saw that scratch mark go down and up about 25,000 times, and so we wanted to share that with the world.
That's neat. You get like a little behind the scenes.
Yeah. The reason why this wine is kind of experimental is in 2019 I made a white wine out of Cabernet Franc, and that ended up being blended with a local Charlottesville winemaker, Jake Bushing. He had another wine, Petit Mensang. We blended it together. It was called Orphan Number 3. And so then I had this press full of skins. And I was like, what am I going to do with all these skins? I guess they could go on the compost pile. But instead, I dumped them into another fermenter of Cab Franc. So this Cab Franc has...
like a double skin.
Yeah, it has way too much skin in it. And I thought that would make this really tough, thick, dark, you know, wine that you wouldn't want to drink for 20 years. But instead, it made this really aromatic, really easy to drink, almost like a Pinot Noir sort of style.
It's not that rough at all. It's
No,
beautiful.
very
it's
smooth.
nice, smooth. Oh, this is excellent.
So yeah, we've got about 6 different wines in that Vineyard Site series that are, you know, experiments with native yeast. We have a Chardonnay that we started fermenting outside in the vineyard using the vineyard's yeast.
That's
We've got this. Yeah, we have a wine called Odd Bird. It is a white wine made out of Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Petit Verdot. Just just like our chance to be kind of experimental
Yeah, and
different.
creative.
Yeah.
So how much research goes into before you kind of like decide like, oh, I'm going to mix like these grapes or these wines? Like, how much research do you do before you kind of venture into that?
There's a lot of research and studying that goes into winemaking generally, and then there's also a fair amount of flying by the seat of your pants.
Okay,
Especially,
that's what I was going to ask. So you just like, I'm just
during
going to
harvest.
mix this stuff together and see what happens?
But you know, sometimes it's really great to have those friends in the industry that you can run things by them and say, have you ever done this? Have you ever thought about doing this?
Does this sound extremely crazy or like?
Yeah. And, you know, you never want to go too far out on a limb all at once. So a lot of what you do is very incremental. You know, we get one chance every single year, and that's it. So don't screw it up. So what you can do is make like a small change this year, and maybe the next year, and you might say, this is great, let's do that again. Or maybe this is how we should make that wine from now on. And then you can make other little tweaks. Or maybe you've got 5 tons of something, and you've split off 1 ton, and you do your experiment to it. And if it doesn't work, or if it works but it's not quite what you'd want, maybe you decide to either blend it back in or parse it out. We also, one thing we do is we keg wine. So if you come to, if you come to the tasting room, you can get a growler full of wine. And so sometimes those are experimental batches. Sometimes those are different blends of things that don't make the director's cut. Like they're just, it's just something fun and different. And I've always loved that. You know, if you go to a restaurant on the downtown mall or somewhere, there are all these breweries that have seasonal things. Or it's like, well, you better try this beer now
because it won't be here.
Because it won't be here next time. And so that's our chance to give a wine a funny name and put it on draft and tell people to try it while it's here.
Yeah, which is a great reason to go to the tasting room. I mean, as if there wasn't already, 'cause I mean, it's a beautiful.
Yeah.
I've seen the photos. It's a beautiful location. The view's great. The tasting room looks gorgeous. And so, but it kind of that incentive to take the drive out and go and experience it, not only just to meet you guys and to see everyone there, but also you'll get to experience wines that don't necessarily always make it to bottle, but that are interesting to try.
Yeah. We also discovered a long time ago when we first started collecting wine and trying to make sure that we always had wine on hand in our house for whatever the meal was. If you want to have a wine collection, you have to buy more wine than you consume, which is a really funny thing to think about. So we discovered we'd go to these tastings, we'd go to these wineries, and we found this wine that we loved. And if you don't have something else, you know, nobody ever buys wine and doesn't drink wine tonight. It doesn't happen. So you almost need like a sacrificial bottle. So you're like, this is a savor. This is what we're having tonight. And those growlers are perfect for that. It's $18 and it's like a bottle of wine.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's exactly. It's like you said, it's your.
You don't hesitate on it. You're just like, yes, this is an easy decision for a Tuesday night. Burger night.
You always have those tiers where you're like, okay, this one, it's too precious for me to like just immediately drink it the day I bought it, so I have to put it in. But you need something else, because otherwise you sit there and say, well, I need to drink something from here tonight.
Right.
So you can get that $18 bottle, the growler, and say, you know what, okay, I just had this, it's fantastic, I'm going to enjoy it tonight.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
And then hold on to the growler and come refill it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. What would you say? So when visitors come and experience Bluestone, what are you trying to want them to experience when they come visit you guys?
You know, not to be like overly poetic about the thing, but this wine is literally our home. Like my parents, you know, they live 300 feet from the tasting room. They work more hours than I do. They really put themselves into this thing. And so is my family. My 7-year-old son loves running around the tasting room and going to the warehouse and climbing pallets. And we all live in the middle of the vineyard. My brother works there full time. He's our operations manager. So for when people come there, we are literally sharing our home with everyone. and you can take a bottle of our home with you, going back to the idea that this is just a bottle of dirt. Yeah. And we want people to pick us up and give us a try when they go to the grocery store or if they see us in a restaurant. But when they're out there, it really gives you a sense of this is what the family does,
and this is
and I didn't appreciate it when we moved to the property when I was 11 years old, but it is a stunning view of the Allegheny Mountains. At the top of the second ridge where our Cab Franc is grown, in one place you can see the Allegheny Mountains and the Blue Ridge Mountains, just clear as day. Just the valley goes on forever, and it's a really cool spot to be. If you need an actual reason to come out, like there's an event happening, we like to have wine dinners because we love food and wine. We have concerts because I'm a live music junkie. Like we have 10 shows a year. Man. It's a really great time. Those are called Toast the Weekend.
Toast the Weekend.
Yeah. So if you're ever around and you'd like to make the trip up, it's a good time. We have kind of a natural amphitheater. We have food trucks and bands, and it's a great time. It's fun. Even when I'm working, I have a good time because I run into 500 people that I know there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So for people who want to experience that, like go out there, toast the wheat and something.
Yep.
Where can people find out more, and where can people find Bluestone Vineyard?
So online, you can find Bluestone Vineyard on Facebook. I'm sure we have Instagram. I'm unfortunately, I spend this is very strange for me. I spend most of my days on a tractor or in a barrel room. So this is a bit beyond.
It's a little bit of a change.
A little bit of a change. So we are on Facebook. I have a professional page. It's called Lee Hartman, Winemaker. If you want to learn more about what we're actually doing on the crush pad or in the cellar, I do much more of that sort of stuff. Here in Charlottesville, we are in Wegmans, and we are at the Wine Guild. If you'd want to try, I know that they carry that white wine made out of the red grapes, and also that Pet Nat. I think they carry that. And in Harrisonburg, we are just south of there. We're off exit 240 for Bridgewater. And coming this fall, I am opening a wine bar in downtown Harrisonburg, which will carry all of Bluestone's wines and then some other stuff that I'm excited about. That'll be called Rootstock Wine Bar.
Rootstock Wine Bar.
So
so
come.
Many ways to try it.
A lot of different ways to come and see us and come check out what we're doing.
Awesome.
Well, that's
Lee,
wonderful.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming on and
sharing some of your family and your amazing wine with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, always.
All righty, we're gonna swap over here, and it is Bluestone Vineyard on Instagram as well. So literally one word, Bluestone Vineyard, all together, and you can be sure to check it out.
Yeah, that was great. I love hearing the passion and then the story behind, these entrepreneurs, and then just kind of like the passion for the wine, and then it comes out when you're tasting it.
I know it really is.
It's incredible.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And I'm excited. We gotta go out there.
Yeah.
The view, and it's what we're also blessed because sometimes you could buy wine from a store and it's like it's from Italy and it's Spain and that's great, but here if you actually buy wine, you actually can have wine from people that you actually know, and places you can actually visit. Like there's some wineries, if you get wine from France or Spain or Italy, it's great, but there are also places you're never actually going to see where the wine came from. Here you can actually say like, wow, those grapes, I'm drinking the wine that came from those grapes. Mm-hmm. Or I'm drinking the wine that Lee made.
Exactly.
That Lee one day said, I'm going to mix these grapes, or I'm going to put these grape skins and just double, and you're like, I'm drinking that.
Exactly. It's just another reason why Charlottesville this area is just so amazing and so fantastic.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I mean, I can think of few people better to talk about just how much we love this area than Matthias Young, Realty, our monthly
Thanks
meeting.
for having me again.
No, thanks for coming on.
Matthias.
It's always fun to know. Recently back from a little R&R. Mm-hmm. How was your vacation?
It was much needed and a fantastic time. We went to Rhode Island. We enjoyed New England climate, a little bit less humidity. Mm-hmm. It was not as hot as here, yet hot enough to jump in the water every day. Mm-hmm. So it was a good time. Typically we would like to go to Germany once a year. My family lives there. You can tell I am from Germany. My wife is pregnant right now, so we decided to not to fly over.
Yeah.
And then we thought, it looks similar in New England to Germany, like landscape-wise, the coastal area, the climate similar. Let's have our own version of that. And yeah, it was good. We had a great time.
Did you eat a lot of seafood there, or did you experiment?
Of course, lots
Yeah.
of fish,
Lots of fish, lobster?
lots of lobster.
Lobster,
as well.
I know, yes. I remember we had taken a trip up to Maine maybe like 10, 12 years ago. Oh man, we were having lobster every day. It was maybe a little too much lobster, but we were like having every day.
Because it becomes, the closer you get them, the more affordable it becomes.
Exactly.
Like in Charlottesville, I mean, it's
It
not
also
easy.
tastes better too. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, now it's even getting better. I gotta have
It's a
more.
more authentic experience, right? Like you can sit in Nelson County on the mountain and eat fish, but on the coast,
Exactly.
it feels more
different.
authentic.
Feels right, yeah.
Exactly.
So what were you kind of most looking forward to, like, coming home to? Is it okay? So I'm back to Charlottesville. What have you been looking forward to?
Well, the key word is home. Coming home, and I think my wife wanted to stay or would have stayed a week or two more on the beach. I was ready to come back. Sure, I also get restless. I want to get back to work.
You want to come on today, Mañana, you know. You
Exactly. It did coincide with the show. Thanks for rescheduling for me. No, I'm glad to be back home. And as much as I enjoy being on the beach, seeing the ocean, after all, I grew up in northern Germany on the Baltic Sea. So I'm familiar with the scent of the salt water and fish and all that atmosphere. But when I talk about home, I actually talk about my home in the mountains. And so it just feels like my place to come back here to Charlottesville. And I can say it is my home. I've been living here for almost 10 years now.
So it is, and it's a beautiful place to call home. I think especially as we go into, I think, just the things to do here and the beauty of it, and we're about to enter kind of that season where like everybody comes to Charlottesville to say, I know you like to enjoy the summer for another month, but like we're getting close to that season when everybody comes down and just you get the changing of the leaves and the transformation in the fall. And it's something I kind of wanted to ask you about, because it's been on my mind recently, like, because I think spring you always hear about as like, okay, spring everybody goes to look home buying stuff, right? Summer everybody goes on summer vacation and then they'll come back. What kind of happens in the fall as we look forward to that in terms of people looking for homes or so forth? Does inventory look different than spring? I mean, I've always been kind of curious, like what happens in the fall, because it's not summer that everyone's gone, and it's not the winter that's kind of quiet, but what kind of happens in the fall?
Well, a number of factors play a role. I think after the spring market, the fall market is the second strongest in real estate. Now, that is a general definition. We had the pandemic, and I think no one was waiting for the fall market because it was just one constant blur of really high activity. And now that we are in a slightly normalized market again, sure, we look at the fall market as a strong market. We hope to see more inventory. I definitely have buyers counting on that. But we also still live in a time with a market that challenges at least some buyers and some sellers. High interest rates. If you own a home right now and you are tentatively looking to sell, you do spend some time thinking it through right now, because you also have to find a new home to purchase, and how does that work with higher interest rates and so on. So there's a number of factors. And so when people ask me, what is the best time to buy a home in Charlottesville? And they ask me in July, then sure, I tend to agree with them that September, October might be a better time, because we will simply have more options to look at. But typically, I'm better advised to not answer directly the question, but counter with 20 questions, asking about the circumstances, because what comes into play as well. Why are you looking to buy? Why are you interested in selling? Can you wait? Or do you want to close on a house in August? What are the reasons for that? So it's a number of factors. But to answer your question, and I've been rambling on here.
No, you're teaching us.
We are right now in the summer slump, July, August.
Yeah.
We do have transactions, but it's a slower market. And we all know, most people are not concerned with real estate right now. It's vacation time. People are on the beach. Their mind is somewhere very different right now. Generally speaking, you will find more options in the fall because sellers don't want to still be sitting on their home during Christmas time when no one is buying. But there are rules to the exceptions to this rule. I know buyers that are looking to purchase in the time right after Christmas because they think no one else is looking right now. Less competition. So difficult question, but I can tell you I'm excited about fall for various reasons.
And some of the potential people that are looking for fall, do you anticipate them to be like first-time home buyers? Are they sort of middle-aged people looking to upgrade, or are they potentially just older generations that are kind of now looking to downsize?
Well, it's another of those difficult questions.
Don't ask me 20 questions.
The answer is, it depends, right? We will see all of that.
Okay.
And if you listen to Charleston News, you know that we have a number of socioeconomic factors to consider. We have different demographics moving to the area for various reasons. I am working with a lot of first-time home buyers, and their circumstances are very different to someone who's just looking to downsize, right? But it is also more fun to sell a home during fall, during the fall colors and the atmosphere, especially here in the area on the East Coast, as opposed to January, for example, when the photographs that you're taking of your house are not going to be as attractive as during the fall foliage.
Yeah, it makes sense. Some of the most beautiful time of year, so everything looks at its most attractive, which is what you want. I mean, it's not as though it's a deception. It really does look that beautiful in the fall, and it's just reminding people, I think, sometimes of saying, yeah, this is what our area, my home, Charlottesville, looks like at you could argue it's most beautiful.
Right.
Which is a great thing to see. We got some commenters. Otto Turkish Street Food right here on Downtown Mall. Great for the.
Oh yes, I've been there many times.
The sandwiches and the rosemary fries.
The rosemary fries.
Otto,
famous.
They're famous. I know.
Falafel.
Otto Turkish. They comment today. They say Matthias is our friend. He's also our realtor. They think you're great. He says we think he is great. He is really reliable and a great communicator. Absolutely.
All agree.
Yeah. Completely.
Well, I appreciate that, especially because we are still in the process of finding the home. So I'm happy that they're already happy with the
enjoying the
experience.
What is this? I think it's to their point, right? What you kind of want. Sometimes it's that process, right? Because you can always, you may end up with a home, but what makes it a great experience with a realtor is saying, I actually enjoyed working with them. I wasn't nervous. They communicated things to me. They made it as stress-free as possible, right? So sometimes it's not even, with many professionals, it's not even the end result, because the end result might always be house or no house, right? But it's what was it like during the process, and that communication is just so important.
Well, I like to believe that I can make the experience better than others.
Yeah.
After all, I'm sitting here to talk about me providing that service, so I'm confident I can make this a memorable, pleasant experience. Buying a home, selling a home is or can be overwhelming. It is certainly emotional.
Yeah.
And my job is to navigate people through circumstances of the market, but also their emotions and the entire process, arranging things. Yeah, but it's after all what I like to do. Yeah. So I'm sitting here talking about it with passion. And I was just thinking about this, listening to Jill talking about the Botanical Garden. And then we have Michael talking about the winemaking process and about his vineyard and the Blue Ridge Mountains. And while I don't have anything tangible with me, I couldn't bring a house here. That's the service.
We've been a little miniature, yeah.
through the door.
Right? And so it was a lot of fun to see you guys with the bottles of wine. I'm here to talk about the concept and the experience.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's funny how it's amazing how all these things kind of come together. So I know you're a big fan of the Botanical Garden and the work they do, and just how all those things, the things to see here, such as the garden, the things to enjoy here, such as Lee's wine, right? They come together as to why this is an attractive place to make your home, and to say, I'm not just going to visit there once every couple years. I actually want to live in a place like Charlottesville area where I can experience these things with more frequency.
Yeah, you know, I have a client right now who's from out of state, so he doesn't know a whole lot about the area, about Charlottesville and what Charlottesville has to offer. And so we took a few Saturday afternoons to drive around. So I took him in my car and showed him different areas of interest here in the area, in addition to the neighborhoods that you want to explore with a client. And I realized that I showed him vineyards or wineries in the area, because that's such a big part of living in Central Virginia. It certainly has an impact on property values. Vineyards being one aspect of what the area has to offer, right? And I also brought another client, an older lady who wanted to get to know Charlottesville, to the Botanical Garden. Because I thought, look at New York City, you have Central Park. It's a big part of why you visit the area. I grew up in Germany. I lived in Munich. Munich has an even bigger Central Park than New York City compared. We call it the English Garden, and that just happens to be the name. And it's in the middle of the city, and it is a focal point for people escaping the busy work life. For all the reasons Jill talked about. Why is she so passionate about providing that green space here in the area? And that lady client, the older lady that I was showing Botanical Garden, her feedback was that she likes even more that the Botanical Garden is at the early stages right now and not a finished product yet, because it shows that there's movement, there's progress, there's development in the area. You can
watch it grow
and it's not just new development next to another new development. No, it's also a lot of thought is being put into creating spaces for the community, like green spaces. I personally believe in it. That's why I enjoy volunteering there. Well, actually, I did that before they changed their name. A lot has happened in the meantime, and I'm not as involved anymore as I would like to be. But I'm excited about Botanical Garden, also for what it stands for here in Charlottesville. I think we can all agree about that excitement that it generates, right?
Well, it's an extension. I think Charlottesville is one of those places that really has a great and special love for the local. Like, what is local here? And it's kind of an extension of that side. In other words, instead of building a very curated botanical garden that we bring in all these rare and exotic plants that you can find in a museum, it says their focus is what is native to Virginia, and we're going to help that to thrive and get rid of those things which were choking out, because they weren't part of the natural ecosystem. And I think Charlottesville kind of has a love of that in general. Like, the community really values, local businesses and local wineries and things that you can have a connection with the people that live here.
Well, as I was listening to you talking, I realized, we're sitting at today, Mañana, in the I Love CVille Network. So it's all about small businesses supporting each other on a local level. And after all, I thought that being here talking to you guys in this format makes sense too, because I'm excited or passionate about the local experience. I work for a local boutique firm. I am not aligned with a big national chain on purpose because I believe that it's a better experience for everyone involved to keep it on a local level. But I agree with
Makes
you.
total sense. Yeah, it's just when you kind of exemplify that yourself, like you can tell, one of the things I love when talking with you is you can tell that you're here to help people come to Charlottesville because you actually love Charlottesville, right? It's not just, you could be doing this anywhere, like you can tell the passion, like we were saying with our other guests, like the passion that you have for like, this is a great area and I want to help people actually make the transition here.
Yeah, I always have to remember the time I moved to Charlottesville. That was 2014. And in the beginning, I didn't have a work permit, which was part of the green card process. I didn't have it yet. So I had a lot of free time on my hands. And I ended up volunteering in different areas. I did the International Rescue Committee around the corner here. I volunteered at Monticello, at the Botanical Garden. So I got to experience so many different aspects of the community that otherwise I think I would not have experienced. And all of those things that I saw before I, started a very busy work life and had less time on my hands for volunteering and exploring, etc., that just formed an opinion I have of Charlottesville, which actually helps me authentically talk to clients about why I personally think this is such an interesting area we live in. It might also help that I'm clearly not from here originally, and so that gives it a little bit of credibility too.
Exactly,
I
it's
think.
an unbiased opinion. It's like you have experienced.
There is
other
a
places.
reason I live here, of all places.
Exactly, exactly. Speaking of that, funny way to I think end for us will be Monica Miller. So she is also from Germany originally, from south of Munich, and she says to you, "Hallo, I'm going to probably butcher the German, but you'll probably bear with me." She says, "Hallo, Matthias, viele Grüße aus Montana."
Viele Grüße zurück. Why isn't that funny?
Yep.
To be sitting in Charlottesville
as the greeting. The hello and goodbye. So she is a bit. I knew she was going to tune in today because she'd been looking forward to seeing you on. So I knew she was going to.
Yeah, when you said she's from south of Munich, I knew how to greet her.
Exactly. So she's a big fan of the show, and especially when you come on, I think she enjoys too. She told me once she enjoys just hearing you say it. She had the same impression that the greenery of Charlottesville kind of reminded her of that Bavaria part of Bavaria that was because it's always so green there.
Okay, great.
Well, Matthias, it's always fantastic to have you on. I love how just the time flies.
Yeah,
when
sharing your knowledge too and your insights is always important.
It's just sharing our shared love of Charlottesville.
Exactly.
It's always
Thanks
a blast.
again for having me.
Thank you for always coming on. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
it's been a great show.
See you next time.
See you next time.
See you next time.
It's been fantastic having you with me, Michael.
No, thank you, Alex, for having me. It was a great show. I was happy to be here.
Oh yeah, no, it's always fun. Really appreciate all our guests, Matthias, Lee, and Jill. Be sure to check out Matthias on Realty, Bluestone Vineyard, and the Botanical Garden of the Piedmont. Got some great guests next week as well. We're going to be joined by Dana Boston. She is the owner of Esthetician Skincare in CVille. Okay. And Gabriela Romo. She is the founder of Refem here in CVille. They work with, I believe, sewing, alterations, etc. So 2 great small businesses here in Charlottesville are going to be joining us next week, so we're looking forward to that. Just thank you for everyone who's coming on. Thanks for all the great comments. Thanks for everyone watching today. Just can't thank you all enough. John Blair, thanks for joining the show and watching us today. Monica Miller, thanks for the comments and the great questions. Otto Turkish Street Food here at CVille, thanks for your great comments. So really appreciate everyone's comments and questions this morning. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you to Judah behind the camera, making us look good. Thank you to Emergent Financial Services, our presenter, and our great partners, Castle Hill Cider, Matthias on Realty, Craddock Serious Insurance, Forward Adelante. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next week. But until that time, as we close it out on the show, hasta mañana.